Expel harm, full health. Did you see that? I'm not even memeing at this point. I went from 10% to full. How's it going, YouTube? My name is LBNinja7, your resident Mistweaver monk and favorite WoW healing content creator. Guys, today we're going to be taking a look at 10.2 and Mistweaver and how Mistweaver is looking to feel in 10.2. How powerful are they? How are some of the changes behaving? What are some builds looking like? So I streamed my Mythic rating PTR testing yesterday, and I PTR tested the whole heroic raid except for one day I missed the PTR testing for that heroic boss. But I have been testing so much PTR lately, and I'm excited to finally be able to talk about how Mistweaver is going to perform. Now, if you're wondering why I haven't made one of these videos before, or why I haven't put up any PTR testing content, it's just because we have been in kind of a broken state. Not like broken as an OP, I guess some would argue yes, but broken in the sense that we knew that there would be more giant changes coming. So in my opinion, I just felt it was best to just wait those out. And those changes being the Chi Harmony actually capturing every healing source, and then we knew that there was going to be some big changes to Expel harm and healing elixir. So in today's video, you're going to take a look at some of the clips from my stream yesterday during the Mythic testing. Some of them are for fun clips. I just had to include them. It was honestly such a fun stream. But some of them you're going to see just how Expel harm feels. I do a lot of testing on this boss in particular, just with the Feline build, although I do still think the Yu'lon build is stronger. So if you're wondering why you see me playing Feline in Raid, it was literally just so that we could fill a void in this specific group where we were just dying in intermission, where all the ads spawn. So I was like, you know what, YOLO, I'll swap. I'll swap to Feline. But you'll see how that build performs on that first boss in particular. And then at the end of it, you'll see me talk about some of the builds that I have been testing or seen some other Mistweavers testing for Raid in PTR. And then I'll come back to you in this format and talk to you about what some of the conclusions are, some of the early conclusions are about this early Mythic Raid testing. I think I'm ripping aggro. I think I'm just taking a beating. Ow. There's both of my defensives. Please leave me alone. Ooh, that Expel harm packed a punch. Oh, that is something I need to be testing. Wow, okay. Hit me. Alright. Expel harm, full health. Did you see that? I'm not even memeing at this point. I went from 10% to full. Like, what was that? Expel harm did... I don't know what my prescription is, but I have to get it fixed. Yeah, is right. That was insane. Insane. What even? I can't really hover over here. It kind of bugs out, but that is more than my health. All right, let's get some Feline into those Chi Harmonies. Oh, yeah. Let's get an Expel harm. Boom, that slams. Oh, my goodness. Ow, I did not like that. Let's Expel harm. Oh, my God. Dude, Expel harm just took me to full health. What the heck? Yeah, Jade Bond with Chi-Ji is so much better than Jade Bond with Yu'lon. And if you're wondering why, the reason is because Chi-Ji kicks up all those mastery procs. Oh, revival! Fat one. But Chi-Ji kicks up all those mastery procs, so those count towards Jade Bond and toward the resetting of the Chi-Ji itself. Let's get some Chi Harmonies out and let's just spin to win, baby. Oh, it feels so good. I don't even care if it's not optimal. I'm pretty sure I'm going to do this when it hits live on this fight. I'll be like, look, guild, I'm just pressing 4. That's all I'm doing. Still getting out healed by the blood decay. Ooh, I saved a homie. Oh my god, I'm such a good teammate. Y'all see that? He, like, blessing of sacked me earlier, and I gave him my blessing of the blessing of my sack. But this is the build that I was running for Gnarl Root. Now, like I said, it's not perfect. Let's all go Monk Mythic Plus testing, dude. I'm down. But this is what I was running. I really liked Jade Bond, and it set up my timer for Chi-Ji very well for Gnarl Root. but also just Phaline. Phaline was the truth. I was not running Shayloons. Let me show you the raid build that we were running with the... I did do some pulls with the Yulon ramp, and it was also pumping. It's just we didn't have our cooldowns up at the right times for the intermission. And I think all the healers were using their stuff outside of the intermission. So I was like, look, I'll bite the bullet. I'll be the intermission healer. And that's why I swapped to this build. But before then, we were running this build. Now, this build, you know, they just nerfed Unison. It's not by much, but you get 1/2 less of a Soothing Mist than you used to. So I was like, okay, let's try without Unison. Even though it's still very strong, Soothing Mist did get buffed. Unison's gonna see good throughput for free, basically. This is the Yulon 1-minute build, by the way. I wanted to test our new Chi Harmony buff after we ramp, right before after we ramp and we Rising Sun Kick, right before we pick a target to Soothing Mist and start spamming Vivifies into. If we channel a Shayloon's Gift on one person that you have a Chi Harmony on, and you hope, since you're going to hit 5 people, that more than one of the Shayloon's Gift hits someone with one of those Chi Harmony buffs in there. And that was the plan for this build. Like I said, I do think this build has a lot of potential. Maybe you could argue you still go like this or something like this, but this build felt very good. And but there is a stipulation. I did not think this build lined up too well. I thought it felt a little awkward trying to line up your Shayloon's Gifts on Gnarl Root. And that's kind of why I swapped to the other build, for the aggro build for it. But this build feels very powerful. I was running this build on, I was running this build pre-Unison nerf on the boss that reminds me of Rashox, the one with the fire rings. And it felt very, very strong. Very, very strong. But then I was like, well, since Unison nerfs, we're going to try to hit more people on the Chi Harmonies with our Shayloon's Gifts. And it also felt very strong. We clapped some healing with some Shayloon's Gifts. We learned on the first boss, if your guild needs more intermission healing, it is not a bad idea to swap to a Phaline build. That's valuable information. Even if it won't perform as high on the overall meters as the Yulon build, it does spike a lot during the intermission. And there's not like too much that can kill you in the intermission, but there is a lot, especially with less coordinated groups. So if, like I said, if your guild has plenty of cooldowns, plenty of safety during the normal fight itself, but struggles during intermission, 100% Phaline felt very good for that. We also learned that Expel Harm is kind of busted, kind of nuts. I mean, look at this. 700,000 healing. That is a non-zero amount of healing. That is not bad at all. All right, so there you have it. This was just clips from the Gnarl Root testing. Now, the group did disband right as we came up to the second boss, which was very troll, but I did test her on Heroic, and I have, like I said, tested almost all the bosses that have been available to us, except for one day I did miss for the Heroic testing, and I do feel like I can go ahead and make some general conclusions. Whether they're wrong or not, time will tell, but I can just go ahead and talk about some of the builds, how they're performing. But let's go and jump into it. So first off, I just want to get this out of the way. The Phaline, the Ancient Teachings, the aggro build in Raid, how does it feel coming from 10.1.7 into 10.2? I will say it feels a little better than it did last tier. However, it's still not quite there, even with the Clouded Focus changes, or the Clouded Focus, I should say, just nerfs coming into 10.2. It still just lacks a little bit more healing power. There's just so much raw power in the Clouded Focus build still that it's just so good. And having the agency to choose who you Soothing Mist onto a Chi Harmony target is just very powerful. Now, although a blanket statement, we're still going to be choosing a Clouded Focus build, I will say that the Ancient Teachings build, the Phaline build, does actually have some very strong bosses this tier. Now, there is a council style fight However, when we were testing it on Heroic, it was a little buggy in the sense that, yes, there's 3 bosses, so that's absolutely ideal for Phaline. You want at least 3 targets to cleave off of if you're doing your single target rotation. The bosses did behave a little weird. You were only able to move one of the bosses, and then the other 2 bosses kind of teleported to what seemed to me to be random parts of the map, kind of spread out at most points in time. So you weren't getting that Phaline full value at all points. So it's kind of weird to say, but it's still unsure if we're even going to go our Phaline build for the council fight this tier, which is just wild because that's kind of like the thing that we've done in raids past. We do our main build, and then we have a cleaving build ready to go, which is usually entails Phaline Stomp and Ancient Teachings. But as you saw in the testing, I do think that there are some bosses that there's a lot of merit to choosing Phaline. Now, this first boss, the one that you saw most of this video be about, if not all the clips from this video be about, he spawns a ton of ads all throughout the fight. There you can trickle in ads, and then in the intermission, any ads that weren't spawned outside of the intermission will uproot and come fight you and do a ton of damage. So there is a lot of damage in that intermission where you can actually get a lot of spinning crane kick and awakened Phaline value. And then during the normal phase, you actually do still get a lot of value in just your ancient teachings. So there is some merit there. However, I do still think the Yu'lon build will have a higher maximum, a higher throughput potential, just like it kind of does on every fight, really, if played and executed perfectly, and if you limit overhealing by, say, like taking 3 healers. But outside of those specific conditions, I do think that for the majority of the player base, it will be an option on this boss specifically because of just how many ads can spawn at once. Now, there are some other bosses that spawn ads, namely, well, I guess things to cleave off of. The second boss, I'm so sorry we don't have any great footage from the Mythic testing, but how it works is it'll spawn basically grounding spears. It'll throw spears at certain allies, and you usually want to loosely stack those so that you can cleave off of them. Well, guess what? That's perfect for us because you have to break the spear so that your ally that's rooted or stuck in that little circle can get out and actually contribute to the fight. Well, Phaline is great there, and actually the few pulls that I did test that boss on Mythic, I was still running the Phaline build kind of on accident, and then I kind of just fell into that value. But the thing about that is that it's so niche, it's such a small part of the fight, because the rest of the fight, the big damage spikes, that is that's all outside of the spears. So I really don't think there's really any merit to taking Ancient Teachings so far, outside of either the council fight if you get lucky, or if they fix the AI by the time that we're able to test it in Mythic, or Gnarl Root, just because of how many ads he spawns. You can get a lot of spinning crane kick value. Now, as for the Clouded Focus build, the build that we're likely going to be taking on almost every single fight, if not every single fight, Clouded Focus, a lot of people were worried if the 15% maximum nerf, or I'm sorry, the 25% technically nerf at any level of Clouded Focus, they were worried if that was going to kind of like hinder us. And then also capping or loose soft capping how many targets we can cleave or how much value we get from cleaving off of targets with Invigorating Mist beyond 5 targets. A lot of people were worried about that, you know, just losing a lot of efficiency. But guys, it honestly was just absolutely pumping. Now, like I said, I did most of my heroic testing, and I will continue to do the rest of my mythic testing with this Clouded Focus build and all of its little variations, because we are testing a lot of tiny little changes, swapping out talents here and there, trying to see what gives the maximum throughput, what gives the most consistent throughput, and things like that. But all in all, this build is still just packing a major punch. And although they're nerfing a lot of the sources of healing, like Invigorating Mist is getting capped a little bit, they nerfed Enveloping Breath, they nerfed Unison, but technically they buffed it before with buffing Soothing Mist. They're nerfing a lot of the healing sources, but it's still performing so well, since a lot of those big slams were going into overhealing. But now with our Chi Harmonies, we're allowed to kind of like spread out our healing a little more evenly. So although we're cleaving some big Vivifies, but on some targets they aren't getting healed as much, the Chi Harmonies will be able to fill in that gap. And I'm seeing very good value from the Chi Harmony, which leads me into my next point. How is the tier set performing? Well, to put it simply, we came into this tier thinking that we were going to have probably the best tier set in the game. I heard a lot of people were talking like that, saying things like that, as harsh as that sounds. But it's kind of true. We don't have the best, but we have one of the best tier sets. The 2 set contributes so much healing. I mean, if you look at our 4 set and our 2 set from last tier, the 2 set currently, the new PTR tier set, it performs very similarly. It's adding a big boost to our healing, and if you play around it, you can really execute some major heals, and then it just funnels even more healing into the 4 set. Now that that 4 set is working, I mean, we are seeing so much value from it. Before, it was doing, on the average pool, it was doing about 4% of my healing. If I played perfectly around it, it was doing like 5.5%. But now, like, I wasn't even thinking about it on some pools, and it was doing like 10% of my healing, 11%. So just all in all, performing very well, because now Invigorating Mist, which is probably our biggest healing source, or at least it was for me, our biggest healing source is now being captured by that Chi Harmony, and it adds a lot more healing. And then, as you saw in my testing, I did a lot of testing with Awakened Phalanx and Ancient Teachings, and now that those are being captured, if we do swap to that build as well, it will still benefit from the Chi Harmonies, and the Chi Harmonies will still benefit from that build, I should say. So it's just adding a lot of healing. Our tier set now has that full power that we expected to come into this tier with. So the tier set is just a big tick of a box. Now let's talk about the Expel harm changes. Now the clips from today were only from a couple clips from last week's heroic testing, and then this one, basically this one mythic boss. So I only really had the mythic boss from yesterday to get some good clips of Expel harm, or me testing Expel harm, but the ones that I did showed just how powerful it is. I mean, it's on a 15-second cooldown, and it can take you from like 20% health all the way to full. So not only will it just be worth it for safety to save yourself when you're at low health, I mean, it basically will full heal you. It's not just that. It also now does a little bit more damage, which is fine. It's not more worth it to press for specific single target damage than like just pressing like a blackout kick or a rising sun kick, because the blackout kick then contributes a percentage of a rising sun kick's worth of damage, but it just does so much healing from one global cooldown that it might actually even still be worth pressing just to parse. So we're still testing that, but as you saw in one of those clips, it did about 700,000 healing. I've heard reports of it critting and doing over 1 million healing, so just like insane numbers there. But the problem is, when you're trying to parse, get as high of heals as you can, the question will always be, what's the opportunity cost? Is that 700,000 going to outweigh if you were to just Rising Sun Kick in that global cooldown, or Vivify? The jury's still out. There's still going to be a lot more testing there, but so far Expel harm is absolutely amazing. I am so happy with this change, and I even did a little bit of Mythic Plus testing since that change, and it even feels amazing there. So I definitely think there is a lot of value in talenting into the Expel harm talents, and overall Expel harm gets a massive 3 thumbs up. I don't have 3, I only have 2, but picture a third right here. My smile will be the third. But yeah, Expel harm, amazing. Our talents, although a lot of them have been nerfed, a lot of our healing has been spread out across the entire fight, as opposed to just these big spiky Yu'lon ramps. We still do have spiky Yu'lon ramps. We still just do a ton of throughput over fights. I mean, I am seeing Mistweavers top a ton of charts. Although I was just memeing around in this video, I have been topping charts through all the heroic testing. And all in all, I can just say that it is going to be an amazing tier for Mistweavers. If not in power level, which so far it's looking like we will be very powerful, not broken, but very powerful toward the top of the tier list, especially for throughput. It's going to be an insanely fun tier, because the build is getting even more fun. Expel harm is honestly a blast to play with nowadays. And then now that Awakened Phalanx and Ancient Teachings work with the new 4 set, it's honestly so much fun and a great time to be a Mistweaver. And on top of all that, we're a little bit more tanky now. So all in all, very good. It's looking like a great tier for us. So if you're still wondering which class you could play and you have a monk in your back pocket and you're kind of considering it, I highly recommend it. At least gear it alongside whatever other alt you're choosing for your main next tier, and see which one gets the best gear in your first vault, because guys, you won't want to miss out on this tier. It's going to be a very good time for Mistweaver. At least that's how it's looking now. Now we're still about a little over a month out, if the predictions are correct. On November 7th is when people are saying that it's going to come out 10.2. So we still have a lot of time for testing. I just wanted to give you guys this update, show you kind of a little bit of the things that I've been testing, and all that. Oh, and before we close out the video, I want to talk about some of the builds. Now, the question marks are we still running Unison? Do we swap it out for Legacy of Wisdom so that our Shayloon's Gift can hit more people, or have potential to hit more people with Chi Harmonies, things like that. There are a lot of minor tweaks, but all in all of them are performing very good. And I think it's out of my hands. I can't do enough testing to figure out which one is the best. Thank God, there is a hive mind that does all that testing, and we'll be able to find out the best build, and I'll make sure and get all that stuff to you as soon as we get all the information correct and have it all chiseled out. But guys, that's gonna do it for this video. Hopefully you enjoyed some of these clips, and hopefully you enjoyed my rambling about how we look in 10.2. Just if you want a TLDR of this video, thumbs up, 3 thumbs up. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for all the support lately, and shout out to my Patreons. These guys carry the channel 100%, so thank you so much. You have no idea how much every little bit of support counts when you're as small as a YouTuber as I am. Every single like makes such a big impact on pushing me further in the algorithm. Every subscriber pushes me further, because people will see that I have a little bit more credibility than I did yesterday. So thank you so much for pressing those buttons. But then also commenting goes a long way, because it gives me something to do. It gives me someone to interact with, and I love talking to you guys. And you guys always bring up some great things down in the comments, but it also does go a long way in the algorithm kind of thing. So if you want to help out a small YouTuber, make sure and do all those sellout things. But guys, that's going to do it for this video. I appreciate you coming and clicking on my video. Thank you so much, and I will see you guys in the next one. Until then, take care.